Thank all of you for being here and giving your input to this very important topic. There are some terminologies that have been sent that are very important to me, and the most important is to be veteran-centered, to be patient-centered. And I appreciate Dr. Raul's comments on that, because as a physician, it's our lifeblood. It's what we live for. It's the outcome that we see. It's to make sure that our patients, we reduce their suffering and promote their wellness in whatever we do. And at that moment, that patient is our world and our universe. And I believe that is the sentiment that we should have here in Congress as well with our constituents, but also in the VA with the whole apparatus focusing on that. And I believe that the urgency is very much needed, and I believe that with working in collaborations with the VA and this committee can make sure that that urgency is highlighted. You mentioned things that are also very important, which is standardization, and I'm familiar with that as an emergency medicine physician. You know, you come in with a patient, they don't know, you don't have any information, it's a multi-organ trauma or emergency, a medical emergency, and you just have to figure it out. And the way we do is we have clinical guidelines and training after training after training to help us with a framework to treat that patient. And I believe that in standardizing the care with the VAs throughout the system is very important. But when I did my Veterans Initiative back home in the Coachella Valley in California's 36th District, some of my veterans there said that they have to re-register and they have difficulties going from one VA to another VA, even if they are here for the summer or the winter break or whatnot. And so how do we create that interoperability within the VAs throughout the country?
I guess that's more of an IT question. I know that that's been a goal of VAs that they haven't accomplished yet. I think that several years ago there was the VELR, the Veteran Lifetime Electronic Record, which was a composition of all of the VA benefits that a veteran could get in one place. In other words, you could go for your health care, but if you had a disability claim, it would also be reflected, and if you had a VA home loan, it would also be reflected. I think that's still a great goal. I don't know where VA is along the timeline for doing that, but just getting a single medical record where you do not have to re-enroll every time you go north or south or wherever you're going in the VA, I think has to be a goal that would really assist veterans across the board.
Wonderful. And the next question, Mr. Collard, is we talked just now about the difficulties of communication and sharing of that information from one VA hospital to another. But how about the communication structures with non-VA providers with the VA? And we know that there are some barriers to doing that, and what can we do to minimize those barriers so that the family doc in the rural area, if there are enough physicians, can receive the information from the VA that they need to provide the continuity of care that the veterans need, but also provide those same standards of reporting to the VA so that they can enter that information to their outcomes measurements that they need for the patient?
So being as far from an IT expert on the panel today, I would say what Mr. McLean has referenced before in terms of a more open source environment within the VA's system itself. Let me go off the answer for just a little bit, because a lot of this also has to do with the manner with which a veteran is received at a different facility, and let's just call it first impressions. If I go from the veteran to the person on the other side of the desk as well, I think many of us have, whether it's at an airline counter, whether it's at a hospital, an emergency room, sometimes we get an impression that the person on the other side of the counter doesn't have quite the empathy that they would need to project to a new veteran. I think we have to even be able to go. This is a little bit of a hearts and minds conversation here as well. And again, it's off the IT perspective, but I think the ability to create a sense of openness and welcome and first impressions for those veterans is also key.